Greetings and welcome to the Halloween edition of the Sliders Review. And I'm here today to talk to you about Light as a Feather Season 2, episodes 9 through 16. So these are the final episodes of the series of Light as a Feather on Hulu. I missed this show. This was such a good show. I just wish it had more gore, more edginess, but it was a great thriller. It's a great suspense, a great mystery. It was a pretty good supernatural type thing. I wish it just would have added like a bit more, but other than that, it was really good. I do understand the frustration of many fans, especially with the second season, because this show is an adaptation of a novel, and it kind of steered away from the novel. A bit, like a little bit here and there in the first season, but majorly in the second. I'm not sure if the second season came out first or the second book came out first, but yeah. But it's completely different from like the second and third book. However, the stuff that they wrote for the second season and created, in my opinion, was extremely nice. Like, it was really good. Only problem is it steered away from what the first season and the premise of the show is supposed to be about. It is supposed to be about a supernatural, like somewhat horror type mystery. And in the second season, it's very light on the supernatural, and it steers more in the direction of slasher revenge. The first half, because this season got split in half, the first half deals more with the supernatural, but in a very watered down version. And then the second half primarily deals with revenge slasher. Then they throw back in the supernatural stuff. And, and when it comes to like a kill count, like all of the major deaths happen off screen. So that's like a big bummer. There's one that kind of happens on screen, but it pans away from it, then it goes back, and then you see the person dead. But with all the other ones, it just happen completely off screen, and that's not good. It's supposed to be like a supernatural horror thing, but this is geared to teens and adults, so I don't understand why they wouldn't like show it. But yeah, so on that aspect, they kind of failed in that. As for the slasher revenge thing, they should never went into that route, like, period. Like, I did enjoy it. It was good, and I didn't see it really coming. But it steered away from what this show was about and what got people into this show. If they was going to do the revenge slasher thing, they should have waited till, like, a third season, maybe 4. But the damage is done. But all in all, like I said, the revenge slasher thing was very good. It did get kind of like corny at times and kind of like mustache twirling villain towards the very end, but it was still pretty good, I gotta say. So it picks up. Oh, also, apparently only 2 months only happened from season 1. That don't make no sense, but whatever. But yeah, so it takes place exactly what happened after the end of episode 8. They're in the factory and they're playing the game again, and so we're getting everybody's premonition deaths. Let's see, what's her name? Alex is still the same. Geez, what her name? I'm forgetting people's names. Sammy is still the same. We know Trey is supposed to be crushed. Who else is there? Gee, I'm starting to forget now. Okay, Isaac is not there. Henry is not, cause he's kidnapped. Oh, Violet. I'm not forgetting somebody. We finally get to know Violet's premonition. And to be completely honest, they kind of foreshadowed it in the first episode of season 1. It just, nobody never realized what happened. We just assumed she was freaking out and seeing strange stuff. But yeah, apparently she's supposed to be in the shower. Oh, actually, she just dies from acid. She takes an acid bath, and so that's how she's supposed to die. I gotta say, with her premonition, it's a little far-fetched, especially in the shower, because like they show like it's shown to be supposed to be like in the shower, so that's kind of ironic. Acid will come from like the shower. Most of these deaths are supposed to be natural freak accidents. Some are actually man-made, like somebody push you and then you die. But that's just a little too elaborate with the whole acid in the shower thing, in my opinion. But it did make for an interesting visual, I gotta say. And so, like, yeah. So they all did that, and they all assumed that, okay, the curse must be broken. Jenny must now go away, so it must still work, right? And then so it cuts from that to a scene of McKenna waking up and wasn't Alex in the chair keeping an eye on her to make sure Jenny hasn't came back and making her black out and stuff like that. McKenna is now like just happy. She's constantly smiling, which is bizarre because McKenna don't smile. So at first I thought it was Jenny, but it's not. It's McKenna. And so she's happy. She thinks the curse is broken. So, Alex leaves, but uh-oh, she looks at her back, and the chrysalis is still there. They are still cursed. They don't understand what's going on. So, she don't tell people that. She just keeps it to herself. And so everybody's doing their thing, like they're partying, they're at the nightclub thing. And so, Bit by Decay, which is Sammy's and Trey's band name. And so they're performing and everything. But before that night, Violet is still like getting texts and messages from her stalker. So something freaky happened. So the person texts her talking about, "Are you missing something?" And then so she's at the mall and she's walking home. Not walking home, but she's walking to her car. She's on the cell phone. And there she sees the trunk. The trunk with the dead body of the boy who touched the chrysalis and played the game. By her car. She's freaking out. And then wouldn't you know it, a cop shows up. And this cop's all kind of like, "Oh, you need help getting in the trunk?" She's like, "No." So then the cop starts harassing her and everything. And she starts to get like an attitude with the cop. You know how violent it is, man. That girl got a sharp tongue. They cast that actress well. I mean, they cast that character well. Boy, she is great when it comes to sharp tongues and stuff. So then the cops all like, "Open that trunk." And she's kind of like, "Crap." So she opens it up, and to her surprise, there's no dead body. Instead, it's like dead flowers or something like that. So the cop leaves her alone. So she's been upset since then, and she thinks somebody's messing with her. And so then she gets a phone. No, wait. So then she's at the club. And, while everything's going on, the music's playing, McKenna tells, what's her name? Alex, that she's going to tell Trey how she truly feels about him. And because he already knows why she broke up with him. But you would have thought they would have got back together, but when he found that out, but he didn't. He stayed with Sammy. But he still is with Sammy. So Violet, she is now just distraught. She's pissed. She doesn't want nobody talking to her. She can't trust nobody. She thinks one of her by the way, now they're all friends with Violet and everything, especially Alex. Like they're buddies now. Because they realize what Violet went through and that she didn't want to play the game just to be mean. And she did what she had to do to survive and everything. So anyway, she's there. Perry talks to her. Violet's being rude to like Perry, but Perry gives her some alcohol. And so next thing you know, Violet gets pissed drunk. So drunk that when she meets McKenna and she meets Alex, she is hammering it into them, man. She's all like, I know it's one of y'all doing this, tricking me and everything, and harassing me and all this other stuff. And if it's not you, McKenna, it must be Jenny. I want to see your phone, like, right now. And so she goes to, like, her phone history. Is like, all right, fine, it's not you. But I know one of you is doing something, or somebody's messing with me. So they constantly keep trying to, like, calm her down and tell her, like, hey, like, you're overreacting, it's somebody else, and all this other stuff. And she is just like upset because right before she got drunk, she got a phone call from somebody. And it was the message of the operator from when she called 911 from when her parents burnt to death. So somebody recorded that message and they really trying to stick it to her. So that's when she thinks it's like McKenna or Alex and stuff. They tell her it's not her. She's getting upset. She's gonna leave, but then she pukes all over the floor. But right before she pukes, she reveals out loud, because she's shouting at this point and she's getting angry. She just shouts talking about the dead body in the trunk in her basement. Suddenly everybody at the club is just staring at her. And Alice all like, she's kidding, she's drunk. But then she pukes their way and they send her home in like an Uber and stuff like that. And so when she's home, that's when she takes her shower. Oh, gee. See, she thinks the curse is broken. So she's taking showers now instead of baths. And well. She turns that water on and she turns around and it hits her back. Boom! Acid's just burning the crap out of her back. So she gets rushed to the hospital. And while she's at the hospital, man, she's being rude to like the nurses and the doctors. That girl, man, I swear. And so she gets treated for like her chemical burns and stuff like that. And wouldn't you know who she saw in the psych ward? Lena, the sister of the guy that Violet used to date. She's no longer missing. She's been in the psych ward. So what's her name wants to go talk to her, but she can't. So she needs like a visitor's pass or like a swipe key. So McKenna's mom is there, and McKenna's mom doesn't want nothing to do with Violet. So she fakes being hurt. She grabs like a scalpel, and then she cuts off the card pass key thing that McKenna's mom had because she works there at the hospital. And then she goes and visits Lena. They say Lena will not speak to nobody at all. She's just there, and they don't know why she's there. But she got checked in and stuff. Her mom apparently checked her in. So it's kind of like, okay, what the world's happening here? See, this is the part that gets kind of rushed. They should have shown that her mom found her, checked her in, and stuff like that. Just telling people everything is not a really good thing. So she decides she's going to talk to Violet and Violet only because she likes Violet and everything. And she reveals to Violet that she was kidnapped by a woman. And so was Henry, and they was both locked up in the same place. And then Henry helped her escape. Now, last time we saw Henry, he was banging on the window at that lady's place, the Margaret lady's place. And so we didn't see Lena, but apparently she was there. And when she went home, she told her mom that she got kidnapped and everything by these two people. Yes, two. It wasn't just one, it was two. But she doesn't know who the other lady is. And so like her mom decided, the best thing for her to do is to check her into a mental ward, because at least there they can keep her safe, and for her not to say nothing. It's weird, but whatever. The only reason why they did that is because I guess the actress was unavailable who plays her mom. Because the actress who plays her mom only had like a cameo, and there was a short one at that. And that was it. So the actress probably wasn't around. That's kind of weird. You check your child in the psych ward. And so the reason why she won't say nothing is because the lady who kidnapped her, the Margaret lady, that woman wants to know how Violet was supposed to die. And of course, Henry and Lena knows that. So they just didn't say nothing. And so like Violet tells her, I'll keep you safe and everything. I promise I won't tell nobody you're here and all this stuff. So then what's her name? Violet like checks herself out and gets out of the hospital because nobody knows she's there, except for of course the person who put her there. So all of a sudden Isaac calls like McKenna on face chat and he's freaking out. He tells her he's done drawing faces and all of a sudden a church popped in his head and he drew it. And then something led him to the church. It's out of town, in a small town. And so as McKenna's talking to him, he steps on something. He's just like, oh, it's just like a wasp nest or something like that. And then he gets attacked by a wasp and he dies off screen. That was his premonition. He was supposed to die by a wasp. And so, like, what happens next after that? Oh, now I remember. So, McKenna, she needs answers. She wants to know why the curse hasn't been broken. So she goes back to Margaret's place. And when you know it, Margaret tases her. Yeah, big old taser. So when McKenna wakes up, she is next to Henry in some type of box, and it's dark. And all of a sudden, they start hearing noise on top of the box. They're in a casket. They are being buried alive. Why? Because of course Henry would die because he hasn't played the game. But McKenna is supposed to be suffocated to death. So Violet shows up at Alex's place and Trey is there, and she tells them what she knows now. That Henry is at that Ladies Margaret place, but then she doesn't tell them. Lena told them because she promised she wouldn't tell nobody where she's at. So Trey doesn't believe her. But then she said then she brings up the Margaret lady. Apparently that's not her real name. I think her name is like Sylvia or something like that. And so like they say they have to find McKenna because she's missing and stuff like that. So they head back to that Sylvia Margaret lady place. And so they're looking for her and they can't find her. And Sammy's there and they find a shovel in the ground. So they go and they desperately try to like dig her out. And so as they doing that, they actually dig her out and they see Henry and it's like, oh, the big hugging moment. And like she tells them how like the Sylvia lady knocked her out and all this other stuff. And then McKenna, she tells Violet what happened to Isaac. And poor Violet, she just can't take it. She's losing everybody she loves, except for her Nana. Her Nana's still alive, but they don't show her Nana. They just keep mentioning her and stuff. And so Violet's like losing it. She's in tears. She's upset. And, Henry's just kind of like, what is she doing here? She killed my sister. And they're like, oh, like she's cool now. And like stuff like that. And then so something interesting happens. So when Henry reveals that he helped Linda escape by holding down the Sylvia lady. But Trey and Sammy are talking because McKenna got accepted at a college in California. This upsets Alex because she doesn't want McKenna to leave. Also, Trey and Sammy are talking and Sammy wants to just get away from that town. She wants to go to New York. And she wants she wants Trey to go with her. And to get him away from McKenna. And so after some convincing, he decides, yeah, I'll go. And McKenna is unable to tell him how she feels about him because, once the whole Violet and throwing up and berating him in the club thing happened, she couldn't. So he goes to like McKenna and he gives her the necklace he was gonna buy for her before they broke up. They have a heart to heart. He tells her he's gonna leave. She's upset. Well, at some point, by the way, the chrysalis on McKenna's back, it's getting bigger. So anyway, at some point, in comes in Sammy, and she gives McKenna some boxes of old like cassette tapes she doesn't want, not cassette tape, but record tapes that she don't want because she wants McKenna to get some new style or something like that. And then she sees the necklace on McKenna, and McKenna's like, "Oh yeah, Trey just gave it to me." But then McKenna's like, "Oh, but ain't nothing happened. It's just something he was gonna give me a long time ago." Blah blah. This upsets Sammy to where she realizes no matter what, Trey's always gonna love her. So she talks to Trey and she breaks up with him. She tells him that, with the curse still going around. Oh, by the way, they know about the chrysalis now, that the curse is still like happening and stuff. And then she tells them, with the curse, like, still around, it's only a matter of time before she dies. And she doesn't want to be with Trey when he's thinking about another woman. So she's about to bolt and just go to New York by herself. She's heartbroken, he's heartbroken, and they break up. Aw. So Henry, he is at McKenna's place, and her mom's there. And he has some medicine from like the hospital from when he got out. So he's nicely shaven now and stuff like that. And so like when he takes his pills, he passes out. So McKenna's mom revives him and stuff with smelling salt. And it determined that he was given the wrong medication. He was given something that's basically going to kill him. So now, Henry now knows that Margaret Sylvia lady still wants him dead. And he doesn't understand why. So him and Lena are not safe. And neither is nobody else. And they can't seem to figure out why. Like this one wants them dead so much. So then Violet calls Alex. And so Perry suggested that Alex needs to get out. Needs to stop taking her mind off this curse thing and just have like time with her in the cabin in the woods and just spend the whole weekend there. And so Perry tells her more about her brother named Justin. And so Alice, when telling Violet on the phone, she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna head out to the cabin in the woods. It's a place that Perry and her brother Justin used to go to and stuff like that." Then Violet overhears his name Justin, and she wants to know, like, because she gets kind of like suspicious because she recognizes that name. But before like Alex could tell her more, she hung up. So then Violet goes to like this hospital that she was that place that she was at that she sent Candace to, and she breaks into the file records, and Henry is there. He doesn't trust her, so now he's following her around. Perry is now doing the whole villain confession thing to Alex. Alex is just kind of like, well, if you knew Violet this entire time, like, why didn't you say anything? Now, this whole confession is a little strange. And this one part doesn't make sense when they show the video on the flashback of it. So basically, Perry tells her straight up that in the very first season, the first episode, when the kids were in the graveyard, Perry was there spying on them. Perry has been spying on all of them ever since she moved into town because she's been tracking Violet and stuff. That whole encounter at the party, that was like a setup from Perry. She, met Alex to get close to Violet and stuff. She revealed that she is the one who murdered Violet's parents in that fire. See, Violet always assumed it was the curse, which that kind of pisses me off. 'Cause it takes away from the supernatural mystery of this show being like the curse is supposed to kill your loved ones and stuff. I mean, it was good, and it should have had. See, it should have happened if this was a teen like murder mystery. That would have been fine, but they should have kept it like supernatural stuff. So anyway, she confesses that she tells her everything because we see she assumed that she could just straight up kill Violet, but she just didn't want to kill Violet. She wanted to kill like the whole family too for some bizarre reason. But then she didn't know about the whole, you have to die, the way your curse tells you. So basically, you're like immortal and stuff. And so when she overheard them in the graveyard, and that's how she kind of knew how like the rules and stuff like that was set. And so the Sylvia lady had to trick them in order to play the game again so she can hear how Violet died. Now, she tells the whole story of Justin. Basically, he got really depressed and upset one time. He went to that rehabilitation place, and that's where he met Violet, played the game, and then he ended up dying. Now, they show a flashback of Perry visiting Justin and giving him a hug, and Violet's looking at them. This makes no sense, and there's a continuity issue because Violet had no idea who Perry was. Throughout this entire season, they kept Perry and Violet separate, except for 2 times. The time they was in the factory playing the game, which Perry was there and Violet was there, so they met. But then there's another continuity issue when they was at the club at the band because Perry introduces herself to Violet like they had met for the first time. So that just never makes no sense, especially if they saw each other, knew each other. Anyway. So the Sylvia lady, that was like her nanny growing up. And she loved both Justin and she loved Perry, and she'll do anything for them. Kidnapping people and all this other crazy mess, man. Like this is when the story just kind of gets kind of weird. Like, this lady did a lot, and she's gonna do a whole lot more than that when you find out. And so like Alice is upset, and Perry's all like, "But I'm in love with you," and stuff like that. She's only known Alice for like a month because Christmas has now passed. No, not even a month. She met her around Christmas Eve. And New Year's Eve happened as New Year's. So she's only known her for like a week or 2. And now she's all in love with Alex. And so I'm not sure how old Perry is, but she did say she's older than Alice and she is in college. Now she's wearing a New York 1998 shirt. Maybe that's the year she graduated. And if so, ew, because like this show is set in 2018. So geez, she is older than Alex and stuff. And Alice is only like an 18-year-old in high school. Adult, sure, but still in high school. And so Alice is upset, and like she's all like, your friends know way too much and now they have to die. So it's kind of getting to that mustache twirling kind of thing. Alex like hits her, knocks her out. And Alice does the typical slasher movie thing. Instead of running out the front door, she goes upstairs. And so as McKenna and them, they go to like one of the cabins. They assume it's the one Alex is in, but it's not. It's a completely different one. So Alex and Perry fight some more. Alex gets out. She finally runs out the front door. And now she's running through the woods hysterically. And they do the typical thing that no matter how far you run or how fast you run, that person always catches up with you. Such a slasher movie thing. Alex didn't take Perry's car. why didn't she take the car? Why is she running on foot? But she ends up running to like a bar. And she calls McKenna. Don't call 911, but she calls McKenna. And then she hides in the bathroom. Perry comes in. She knows the lady who works at the bar because the lady knows her family. And so Alex is all like, don't let me go with her, blah, blah, blah. She's like, no, you're in good hands, honey. So then Alex steals like the corkscrew. And then when she gets in the car with Perry, she stabs Perry in the hand. Why not the neck? So then she runs out and McKenna and them show up, plot armor. And then they drive on out of there. Now, like I said before, the whole Perry thing and being a stalker, murderer person, that would have been fine in a couple of seasons from now, but not this early in the show. And it would have been better for like a drama, like murder mystery type thing. And so it just kind of feels weird knowing she's been there since season 1, but we never saw her in season 1. She didn't get cast until like season 2. And so, like, the lady at the bar, she ends up calling the cops because she saw the scuffle with Alex and Perry. The cops are like, oh, that's a lot of blood in your front seat and your hand and stuff like that. They check her trunk and they find a dead body. And so they arrest her. So Alex and the gang, they head back to Alex's place, and Alex's sister is there. Her sister hasn't been seen in a couple of episodes, and they want her to check out the chrysalis on like McKenna's back. Now they know this thing is supernatural. What is a pre-med doc gonna do? You know what I'm saying? And so April puts on some goggles and like a scarf around her mouth, and she takes like a poking like rod and she pokes the chrysalis, and it spews out black stuff all over April. But they don't kill her, nothing like that. And she's all like, this looks like some type of virus that spreads and blah blah. Lady, she's never saw this growth. It's like, for the most part, she should have said, oh, this looks like an orifice or some type of cyst, something like that. But it is getting bigger and it's getting nastier too. It's pulsating and stuff, and something's trying to come out. So they can't go to like a doctor, so they just spend the night there. And Alex tells them that Perry told her that Perry was going to take Alex to this nearby town, to a priest at a church, because apparently he knows something about like the chrysalis and the game and stuff like that. And so McKenna's all, it must be the church that Isaac was at. So they head there and they talk to like the priest dude, but they don't know where it's at. So Alex has to talk to Perry in prison, and she does. And so while they're doing that, Trey gets a phone call from one of his bandmates. It's about Sammy. She is now dead, been frozen alive. How, you wonder? Well, it was a flashback. She's at a gas station by herself because she's heading to New York. And coming out the gas station is Perry. Now, what are the odds Perry is going to show up the moment? Like, here's the thing. How did she know that Sammy was going to be at that specific gas station? So Perry comes out, and as Sammy's about to go in, and Perry has a bag of ice, and she's all like, "Oh, funny meeting you here," and stuff. She's like, "Yeah, what are you doing way out this way?" And she's all like, "Oh, I'm just with Alex, and we're going to a cabin in the woods. Why don't you come say hey?" So Sammy's kind of weirded out and don't want to, but she does it anyway. And when she goes to the car, Alex is not there. She didn't get Alex just yet. And then we see Perry take the bag of ice and knock Sammy upside the head. And that's all we know. We don't know exactly how Perry killed Sammy. But from what the coroner says, she was frozen to death. So what did she stick her in? How much ice did she have? They don't show this because it just got rushed. And you know, if they would have showed these murders happening, it would have been a whole lot better for the series. And maybe they could have got picked up for like a third, you know? So after Perry tells Alex where, like, the church is at, they head there out of town. They talk to the priest. Priest all like, he doesn't know who Isaac is. He's never heard of this cursed game and all this other stuff. Of course, they don't believe him. So they stake the place out, waiting for him to leave. They break in and they find Isaac's phone and his drawings and stuff. And then comes the priest. He's all like, I'm going to call the cops if y'all don't leave. Then Jenny shows back up. She tells him, fine, do it. But then we're going to tell this and tell that and blah, 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 and stuff like that. So he breaks down and confesses. He tells everything. What is it? I don't know what he did with Isaac's body. But anyway, he tells him about the curse. He said 30 years ago, back in like the 80s, there was a girl named Margaret I still can't say that. Abbott. That's it. Margaret Abbott. And she was possessed by some type of devilish thing. Her mom brought her in because she played a game. She played light as a feather. And so she had like the giant chrysalis on her back and all this other stuff. He didn't know what to do, so he performed an exorcist. Now, he said that she played this game with her 4 other sisters. That's why the game always needs 5 people. When he performed the exorcist, it backfired and it spread the chrysalis to like the other members. It spread the curse to the other sisters. And then so the sisters all end up dying and stuff like that. Margaret died and she was buried with her family. So like he's all like, I can tell you where Margaret used to live at, but it's not gonna do y'all any good. So they head to Margaret's place. This house is still intact. The furniture is still intact. The TV is still intact. The electricity is still intact. How? This 30 years ago and everybody's dead except for the parents. Unless the parents still live there. But where are the parents at? Anyway. So they break in. They go through the stuff. Somehow McKenna sees, like, they go into, like, Margaret's room. And there are 2 beds there. I picked up instantly, she must have a sister sleeping with her in the room or a twin. Now they find out what the whole butterfly thing is. There are butterflies all over Margaret's room. Like paintings and all this other stuff. Violet tells her as the game's about to start, you see butterflies. So this is why butterflies are always appearing and stuff. McKenna, for some reason, goes to like a giant dollhouse. And she opens it up and there's like a videotape, a VHS tape that says confessions. They play it. They see Margaret talking about like the curse and her sisters and this and that. And like she says something that triggers something McKenna or Violet here. Something about wanting to rest in peace, something like that. So they assume that Margaret wants to be buried. So they go out to the cemetery, and so they're looking, and apparently Margaret's grave. They assume like, wait a minute, if this is her gravestone, then she must be buried. And then they see another one of another girl, one of her sisters, had the same birthday as her. They figure out she's twins, so they figure she must not be there. So they're like, okay, where would the body be at? So they assume they'll be in the church down below and stuff. So they go down there. There are tons of coffins, all kind of stuff. And so they find the urn that has Margaret in there. So they're gonna put her in the ground. Well, something else happens. Sylvia comes in, says she wants to confess for the murder of Sammy. She's gonna take Perry's place in prison. This woman will literally do anything, even spend the rest of her life or go to the death penalty for Perry. This is just a little too far-fetched. How much do you love the kids that you babysat? You know what I'm saying? So anyway, Alex finds out, she's freaked out. And Perry just ends up there lickety-split, like really fast. They go back to the church. The priest is dead. They don't know how he died. So then they're looking for the body. Trey said he's going to stay at like the place where the grave is at so he can dig it up so they can hurry and do it. when he's like in the barn and still looking for a shovel, there is Perry. Lord have mercy. She shows up. And she's all like super villainous now, and with the pitchfork and all, like, I'm gonna kill you, and y'all know too much. And now the writing's getting kind of stupid. So she impales him in the shoulder with the pitchfork, and she runs on out. Before that happens, he almost got crushed by a gate, so he ain't died, so he's alive. Anyway, so they're at the church. They find the urn. They like leave. They go to like bury her, but then something happens. They go into a barn, and there is Perry once again. And oh no, she calls and she like wants Alex and stuff. But before that happens, of course, there's a fight that brews out. What happens? Oh Lord, this show's getting kind of ridiculous now. They're looking for Trey. He's screaming, hollering, because he has the pitchfork still in him. So they run inside the barn, and Perry locks them in. Alex is the only one who's out. And they scuffle a little bit. She takes off running. Then she calls him out, I want Alex. But she stole the urn. I'll give you the urn, and you give me Alex. Alex like, whatever, I'll do this just to save y'all, you know. So Alex and Violet goes there. And Violet's gonna sneak in as Alice in there trying to lovey-dovey her up. This works only for like them to impale Perry with giant spikes. It's like this thing on the ceiling, a rope. They release it, it hits Perry. So Perry's out. So like while that's going on, Trey is at the place and McKenna is there. And so is Henry. And wouldn't you know it, McKenna is starting to look like a corpse now. That thing is taking over. The chrysalis is getting so big, it's like sprouting like tentacles and stuff. And so all of a sudden, Jenny takes over. And he's all like, Jenny, I thought you were going to leave McKenna alone, blah, blah. She's all like, you all are messing everything up, and I got to save McKenna because y'all can't do it. So she hops in the car. She's going to run over Trey and crush him. And he's all like, you really want to do this? Fine, do it. And he don't believe she's going to do it, so he's calling her bluff. She starts the engine. He's all like, are you really going to do this? We're being friends. When we was in middle school, we got drunk and we kissed. She said it was revolting. She smirks a little bit. But then she's about to hit the gas. But then Henry opens up the door and tackles her. And it kind of like messes her up a little bit because she's so weak. Because McKenna's body's really weak. But then, okay, this is the thing. He grabbed her from behind. He had his shirt on. The chrysalis oozed out on his shirt, went acid-like, and went in his chest. So he's convulsing on the ground, passed out in a coma. And McKenna has like a dream sequence. She's talking to Jenny. Jenny is now reliving the moments of before she overdosed. And her and McKenna hanging out in the room, and McKenna's just like, this never happened this way. And McKenna and Jenny thought like, well, it could have. Because, you know, Jenny feels bad. She overdosed and all this other stuff and caused so much grief and pain to her family. Even though she blames her mom for some bizarre reason. And so McKenna tells her straight up, like, look, man, you absorbed most of that curse a couple of months ago. And you the one who brought it back. And in order for it to leave, you have to, like, go and stuff. And so, like, Jenny doesn't just want to do that. Well, in the real world, the chrysalis is hatching. And it was a pretty cool thing that happened. That thing busts straight open. Ooze, like great ooze starts spewing out. And then all the kids just, like, hit the ground. And their backs are like in pain. The chrysalis is now growing on all of them. Not sure how, but like Violet said, she has no idea what's going to happen when this thing hatches and stuff. And now we know it's spreading it like a virus. And so they're all in pain, they're all dying. And then Jenny finally decides, all right, fine, whatever, I'll leave and everything. And then when she leaves, boom, everything's over. Like, the curse is broken. All of the chrysalis are now gone, even the one on McKenna. And so they're all like, but we haven't buried the urn yet. She's all like, it's not about Margaret. Apparently, she said it's been about Jenny this entire time. So now they're like, yay, we're free to curse. But Isaac, not Isaac, but Henry's a little still out of it. So they had to take him to the hospital. So 5 months later, oh, before 5 months later, guess who is alive? Perry. Not sure how. Those spikes went straight through her stomach. But she's alive. Why did they do this? Just kill her, man. So anyway, 5 months later, they graduate. And they all excited. Violet has decided to go to a boarding school. And she's going to graduate from over there. McKenna and Trey are still together. Alex is single but happy. And then we cut to Violet at a boarding school. She's in somebody's dorm. There's like four other people. They said they're bored. They said they want to play a game. But what game? And Violet tells them, oh, I have a game. And then the freakiest thing happens. Violet is in a chair. She's in front of a mirror. She turns around and looks at the mirror. Jenny is now in possession of Violet's body. How? Unknown. It's never revealed. It doesn't make no sense. Jenny went back. When Jenny went back, the curse went back. So if Jenny is back in the land of the living, that must mean the curse is back. But we'll never know how this is going to end because the show got canceled. I will say, it's cool how they explored the Chrysalis more, the game more. It's kind of cool about the Abbott sisters and all this other stuff. It would have been cooler to see a visual of them playing. However, this does negate something that is told in the first season. When they have the journal, which never gets brought up in the second season, they said this journal looks so old, it looks like it could be centuries old. But yet the game itself is only 30 years old. And so, like, I don't know. They're making it imply that Margaret is the one who created this, and that's how everybody started getting affected. But chances are it's been around for centuries, but then it just so happened to went to Margaret when her and her friends started playing and stuff. How they got the journal, like, who knows? See, none of that stuff is explained. It would have been nice if they would have explained that. Like I said before, this entire season went by super slow. And it was like there was suspense and build up, but it doesn't really pay off that much until towards the middle end of the second part of this. Also, not showing the kills on screen made it very weak. Also, not killing no major character. Like, here's the weird thing. None of the major characters died except for Sammy. That's not enough. Now, sure, in the first season, only 2 died, but it was enough because the cast wasn't that big yet. And also, Violet's boyfriend died, so that makes 3. But in this one, it's just them 2 new people that died. Isaac died. Nobody cares about Isaac. He dated Olivia, cheated on her with her best friend, then snubbed her best friend for her enemy, and so like whatever. Screw him. But it's just kind of like there was so much interesting build-up and intrigue, but they couldn't pay it off with the episode order they had. It had 16 episodes. They could have did a whole lot more. But instead, in the first 8, they just went so slow. They should have built that up then. And it would have been so much better. And it would have been better if they would have stick to like the books. If they want to do their own thing, fine. But make it consistent. Don't have this slasher thing, revenge thing that apparently has been going on since the first season, but we never saw it. They should have did the revenge slasher thing much later, because somebody's gonna want to get at Violet, and that could have been for like a really interesting spin-off or their last season. They should have stuck more closely. If they would have stuck more closer to the book, then Violet would never got redeemed. I do like Violet getting redeemed. That was nice. But like I said before, all in all, the second season is good. It's just there's some things they should have waited on, like majorly. And also all the plot armor kind of ruined things. But, like I said before, it is a good season. It's just way too rushed and stuff. That wasn't that spooky. All right, well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.